An end may finally be in sight to the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. It's time for the Streamline, everything you need to know in 10 minutes or less. Breaking overnight, the Senate advanced a bill to extend the funding for the government through the end of January. 8 senators broke with their party to vote for this compromise, but it doesn't include Democrats' key demand to extend Obamacare subsidies, which would have prevented premiums from skyrocketing. Instead, Republicans only promised a future vote on health care sometime next month.
If that is not successful, then shame on the Republican Party and shame on Donald Trump. But the American people will see who stands with them on health care and who does not. And that will be the platform of the next stage of the fight.
So the deal does not mean the government is open right now. Senators still have to finalize the deal, and then the House needs to approve it. That could take days. And travelers are still dealing with flight cancellations from the shutdown. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy warns all of this could get even worse. This Sunday was the worst day of cancellations since the shutdown began. Nationwide, more than 7,000 flights delayed. Another 2,000 were canceled after the FAA ordered airlines to reduce 4% of flights at 40 of the nation's major airports. That includes San Diego International. And you can imagine travelers are extremely frustrated.
I'm angry that the governments, the president and the Congress and the Senate can't get together and just settle this thing and stop affecting regular people.
Everyone just wants this to be solved. Duffy tells Fox News air travel could slow to a trickle by Thanksgiving. Starting Tuesday, airlines will be forced to cut 6% of flights, and then that goes up to 8% Thursday and tops out at 10% by Friday. Meanwhile, President Trump says each American will receive at least $2,000 from tariff revenue. He made that comment in a social media post on Sunday, calling people who don't support the tariffs fools. Trump says the U.S. is taking in trillions of dollars from the import taxes and that the money will be used to pay down the national debt. Trump's comments come after the Supreme Court heard arguments last week over his authority to impose tariffs through executive orders. Now, he did not give any details on when anyone could see that money. And President Trump is also issuing a sweeping pardon to anyone prosecuted in efforts to overturn the 2020 election. That includes Trump's lawyers, Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell, and his former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, along with 74 other people. The pardon explicitly states that it does not apply to Trump himself. The president's immigration crackdown is in full force. Tensions increasing in Chicago, where authorities say they are searching for a man who fired a gun at federal agents. On Saturday, a crowd was demanding a detained woman's release when the Department of Homeland Security says the man fired several shots at agents and then drove off. The agency called the crowd agitators, saying protesters also threw bricks and a paint can at their vehicles. But some neighbors say it was the agents who were overly aggressive. One family says their car was pepper sprayed as they were driving by and that they had to pull over to wash out their one-year-old eyes. And meanwhile, a federal judge has ruled the president has no lawful basis to federalize Oregon's National Guard. In the ruling, the judge says the federal government exaggerated claims of violence in Portland to justify sending in those troops. Across the globe, another deadly typhoon has hit the Philippines. At least 4 people were killed in this after it made landfall on Sunday. Super Typhoon Fenghuang forced more than 1 million people to evacuate, threatening the island with flash floods, landslides, and tidal surges. Wind speeds reached up to 115 miles per hour. Roughly 318,000 people are now living in shelters. About 1,000 homes were destroyed. All of this comes after last week's typhoon that killed 224 people. Typhoon Fenghuang is now set to hit Taiwan on Wednesday. A new gambling scandal rocking pro sports this morning, this time hitting the MLB. Cleveland Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase and starter Luis Ortiz both indicted, accused of tipping off gamblers about the pitches they would throw. Prosecutors say in June 2023, a bettor won $58,000 after Clase tipped them off about a pitch. And in the middle of the game this past May, the indictment claims he texted a bettor asking if they were, quote, ready. 10 minutes later, that person won $10,000. Now, prosecutors say Clase recruited Luis Ortiz earlier this year. They now face wire fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering. Ortiz is expected to be in court today. His attorney denies the charges. Clase's attorney has not commented. Major League Baseball and the Guardians say they are cooperating with investigators. The Trump administration is moving forward with a plan to offer 50-year mortgages. The move could potentially kickstart the now stagnant real estate market. But it has also been met with some skepticism, even from longtime allies of Trump. Experts say the monthly savings from the longer loans are being erased by the interest accrued over that span of time. Now, homes are currently seeing the lowest turnover rate in 30 years, and the median age of first-time home buyers just hit an all-time high of 40 years old. The White House has not yet explained how it would get around the Dodd-Frank Act, which effectively bans mortgages longer than 30 years.
In the 90s, Pokemon was a big part of pop culture. You saw it everywhere. And now, decades later, it's making a comeback as people cash in their cards.
I get people in here every single day. I probably 100 people come in a day just looking for packs, looking for individual cards. There's a big boom happening right now in the hobby.
And this big boom is happening worldwide as comic book stores and card shops try to keep up with the demand for Pokemon cards. For some, it's nostalgic, trading for specific cards to play the Pokemon card game.
There's a lot of people now that were like millennials who watched as a child and now they're having kids. So they're collecting cards with their children.
Brad Thompson is the manager for TCS Rockets. He says for others, it's about snagging a collector's item that can be worth a lot of money.
They grade it on surface, centering, corners, and just overall condition of it.
Typically, the going rate for a pack of Pokemon cards can cost you a few dollars to a couple thousand, depending on the type of card set.
I don't want this card. To be honest, I don't really want the Charizard either.
The chase, the thrill of the chase.
But if you pull out one of the limited edition cards in that stack, that's where the payoff comes in.
Nothing.
You'll buy a box of cards and open a whole box and you might not get anything out of it, but then you might be able to open a box and get a $2,000 card.
Douglas Kasaudish is the owner of the Supreme Card Shop. He says his inventory of Pokemon cards has grown over the years when he discovered Pokemon's popularity and how much money people are willing to pay for them, especially the older versions.
This was probably no more than a $100 box. There's only one guy that I know of that's selling it, and it's selling for $20,000.
Today, the most expensive Pokemon card sold is a Pikachu Illustrator card, sold for nearly $5.3 million. And while finding and selling a card worth that much is rare, Douglas says he doesn't see a slowdown in the Pokemon craze anytime soon.
I'm not worried about grading that card.
Things do come down here and there, but the scarcity of the cards and the boxes themselves is going to continue to drive the market on this kind of stuff.
What's that at? What if you take out the Rayquaza?
Marie Cornell, ABC 10 News.
Today, the Marine Corps is celebrating its 250th birthday. On this day in 1775, John Adams drafted a resolution creating what was then known as the Continental Marines. That date is now observed as the birth date of the U.S. Marine Corps. Currently, there are more than 200,000 active duty and reserve Marines serving in the United States. And thank you so much for your service. That's the ABC 10 News Streamline. Everything you need to know today in under 10 minutes.